Okay. Hello, Internet, and welcome to our presentation and Lunch and Learn webinar. This is Anvil's Using Data Insights to Better Know and Message Customers. So if you're here for that webinar, you're in the right place. And my name is Stephen Hammill. I'm the Director of Insight at Anvil Media, and I'm going to be running the show today. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into the presentation. Those of you watching online via the WebEx, you can add questions or comments in the comment box, and our admins will take those into account and then send them up to me. That can even happen during the presentation. We will have a discussion window at the end of this. I'm estimating about 35 minutes to get through this, where we can also answer some questions, so you can save them to the end. We also have some folks in the room watching this live, and as I mentioned before, feel free to interrupt me if you have any comments or questions as we go through. So let's dive in. Chat feature to everyone. Okay, so I'm being told if you do want to get a question via chat, chat that to everybody, so that way we can see it here. Okay, a little bit about me. I told you my name. I'll say it one more time, Stephen Hammill, and I have about 12 years experience in the digital marketing realm, specifically focusing on measurable strategies and tactics. I've created some data-driven plans for large brands in some previous agencies and places, including the brands you see listed there. I've worked in both the B2C and B2B space. A lot of what you see today, I think, will be applicable to both B2C and B2B applications, although most of the examples I'll give will be B2C, because we are talking about customers. I'm trained and certified in all the Googles. I've been a partner with IBM as a reseller for automated marketing solutions, and some partnerships there. We'll talk more about that later. My focus has been on search and email marketing, so SEO, SEM, PPC, and email marketing are kind of my main strengths. And I am a passionate data translator, which, if you've never heard of it, is a thing that exists. And we're going to talk about that today, like, what is it? Because I have to say it every day, so I should be good at telling you what it is quickly. So here's what we're going to cover today. What are the keys to getting meaningful insights? A very open-ended question. Doing some marketing beyond the channel, which I'll explain what I mean as we get there. I'll look at customer journey. Some tactics and tricks that I think the marketers and people on marketing teams in this meeting can take and use really immediately. And some takeaways in the discussion window, as I mentioned before. So the first statement, awesome data is awesome. I believe that. And I oftentimes have my first initial conversations with people about what I do for a living and what data analysis is by explaining that, and this was a metaphor given to me by a former colleague of mine. For a copywriter, words are to them what data is to me as an analyst, by which I think he meant, and I mean, it's not necessarily about the collection of the data itself or how much of it we have. It's what we do with it. It's how we tell stories. So essentially, a good data analyst in the marketing sphere, I think, is a good data storyteller. And we're learning how to use the data of our clients and our customers to be able to do that well. And the translation of that raw data into insights is basically what we do for a living. It's taking a lot of complicated concepts and translating it into something that we can use quickly. Yeah. So maybe instead of saying awesome data is awesome, we should say awesome insights are awesome, because what really data is about is creation of insights, not data itself. Let's take a quick tour, 30,000 feet, of the current state of marketing insights today. First set of numbers, I think, show a consensus that our industry thinks data is really important. 92% of marketers are saying that they're using customer data in their strategies today. Most organizations are creating or hosting some kind of data on their own databases. And most marketers consider data the organization's #1 underutilized asset. I hear that everywhere I go. Almost every client interaction I have, they will nod their heads at this theme. Looking over on the right, we know we have consensus on the left. On the right, I think we have consensus of the challenges in making this all happen. More than half of the companies say their biggest data-driven marketing success is a lack of data quality. The thing challenging their success is a lack of data quality and completeness. So we don't have, the data's not in a good place, or we don't have it complete. A lot of marketers are saying increasing revenue can be attributed to marketing. It's their top objective. So our marketing teams want to use data to grow their revenue and hit their goals. The marketing teams helping them want to do the exact same thing and be able to tie the measurements together. And then 44% of marketers have some kind of a management platform for data, and 33% are planning to add one. So that means we have an entire world of marketing organizations feverishly doing demos for every type of software under the sun. If you do any kind of work with customer data, you're probably in that world right now. You know, vetting different tools, being told something is going to solve all your problems. Well, we're going to work today on getting to these answers a little bit more quickly. So a challenge. Data is and can be overwhelming. And the job, again, of that green guy, which is me, and the people on my team is to try to translate that all into a cohesive story. Another challenge. Telling data stories does not work without strategy. The data fluent members of any organization, the people doing the job that I do, we need to work alongside the strategists and the strategic thinkers of our companies, because only through that can we get informed about what we're actually doing. Otherwise, we're out there in the wilderness just pulling data without any sense of what it's for. And the ship goes in the other direction as well, because when our strategists are better trained to sniff out data and to help clients understand data and how it works, we're basically working as a single cohesive machine. And I think agencies that are doing this well are the ones getting the most business. And I think the marketing departments that are doing this well, finding the people who can help each other, are finding a lot of success. Another challenge, reporting. I do a lot of reports. Anvil Media does tons of reporting. Reports usually happen at the end of most processes. It's oftentimes the last thing an analyst does. I'd say maybe it should be the first thing we do. This is a pretty eye-opening statistic to me. 19% of marketers are tracking all of their marketing efforts in order to drive improvement via reporting. That is a tiny percentage. Why are we not doing this more and better? I think the answer is because we're waiting until the end to actually put the numbers together and to see what is or isn't working. So a potential solution to that challenge is to take reporting and analysis and bring it closer to the earliest stages of work. We'll get into tactics later in this presentation, but I really want that to sink in, that in order for this all to work, our organizations have to be thinking about data collection at the beginning of our processes, not at the end. The collection at the end is important because it will tell us what did or did not work, but we need to know what we're measuring first before we can get good data out of it. Wait, what even is customer data insights? I don't know, I'm a cat. Or I don't know because I don't work in data a lot. I should have said at the top of this presentation, my goal here is to give you good insights whether or not you're a data fluent marketer or not. So if you don't know data well, this section will be, I think, useful for you. If you are a data fluent marketer, stay patient, because I think there's some stuff in here you'll also really enjoy and help you get through your day a little bit better. So let's talk about customer data and the two types it generally falls into. When anyone thinks of data, I think most people think of tables. You've got your Excel spreadsheet with your rows and your columns. And at the tops of your columns, you have your headers or data fields. And these data fields can house what we like to call in the business structured data. Structured data is anything that is consistently capturable, and we understand the context of it. So in the case of a name, it's structured in that we know what the data in that field is representing. Same thing with a date added into a database or the location someone maybe lives in. And the nice thing about structured data is we can take two different databases, maybe a CRM up above and some visitors to our website down below. And even though the names of the columns are a little bit different, any database worth its salt can say, I know how to take the location data from the website table and merge it up to the city data, because obviously that's the same thing. I can even do things like check against misspellings and stuff like that. So that's the world of structured data, and it's the kind of data that a lot of us work in every day. But there's another type of data, and we often see these in our very same Excel spreadsheets. That far right column, we call it notes, or we call it something, and it's all the stuff that doesn't fit. And the easiest way to define, I think, unstructured data is the stuff that doesn't have a place to live in those cells. And for us, it could be something really, really important, because structured data oftentimes misses a lot of information that we want to know about. For instance, Charles has purchased a product from us 8 times, but we don't have a structured way to actually keep that information in our record. Or, in this case, I'm in this record twice. I have a misspelled name in one of the rows, and the notes field is saying, you know, I think this person might actually be the guy who used to live in Portland and now lives in Lake Oswego. We just have his name wrong. These types of unstructured data pieces are important, and how we get them to be structured is generally by creating some sort of a key. Oftentimes in our databases, we want to get customers down to the identification level. Customer IDs are ubiquitous. Every platform you work in will have some version of that. It could be an email address. It could be a randomly generated number out of Google Analytics. Anything that has it, but the idea is if we can tie customer IDs to actual people, then we can start to pull unstructured data and pull it up and spool it up next to the structured elements we have. To make unstructured data useful, we look to better define what we want to get out of it. Because if you had 1 million of those records with unstructured data, it would take you weeks or months or maybe years to actually get anything useful out of it. So now we need to know what we want to get out of it before we ask what tools to use. So I think thinking of unstructured data through these types of lenses is really helpful. It's all about collecting customer preferences via trackable behaviors. Anything our customers are doing online, whether it's in an app, it's on a website, social media, if it's trackable and we can put tracking on it, it's type of unstructured data that can be created that we can then use. So website actions like product page views, social media actions, likes and follows, geodata, you know, a visitor from a new location, did they move, did they get a new job? You know, I know that they're in a different location now via my structured data, but my structured data is not telling me why they moved to a new location. And if I know they moved because they got a new job in a new industry, I may want to market that person. If that person just had a baby, I may want to send them some marketing materials. My structured data is not going to tell me that they just had a baby, but unstructured data can. How do we make this useful at scale? We can use marketing automation tools, and we're going to look at some of those today. Some of these are really powerful. They're even equipped with artificial intelligence capabilities to ask questions and answer questions about customers without even having that common identifier. It can kind of make these assumptions on its own very, very quickly. Most of you have seen some version of this. The landscape of marketing tools and platforms out there, you know, this is always a headache-inducing thing for me. I feel like a lot of marketing teams and clients that I've worked with are oftentimes a little bit lost in terms of, okay, I know data is important and I want to get a better sense of it. I have a lot of data sets of my customer data records today, but how do I put it all in one place? Where do I start? You know, do I start from a marketing channel? Do I start looking at, you know, database solutions? I think to get from this view to something more workable, we need to refine the criteria. And I think these criteria are pretty universal. First is the ability to connect relevant marketing channel data. So that's your search channel, your website, your paid, your display, all of that data, likely via API connections, to some kind of a master customer database, a database that you can send information into and pull information out of. And I'm going to show you some examples of those in just a minute. Another criterion is the ability to create marketing messages from that set of records. I want to be able to take the data, go ask it something. Did somebody move? Did some of my customers move to a new city in the last month? Or did any of them get a new job or have a baby? Spit out that information and then let me have a marketing campaign to go to those people. Next is the ability to perform analysis on the data and make reports. Obviously, if you can't do reporting, we can't know if it's working. Syncing the data on a regular cadence, that becomes important depending on the industry we're in and how often we want to update the records of our customers. You know, we may need to sync our databases together on the hour, in real time. Maybe it's weekly. It really depends on the situation. And lastly, the tools and environments that can scale with us. I'm going to hammer that point home a few times in this. There are solutions out there that are less expensive, sometimes free, that can scale up as you grow your data. There are other solutions out there that will only get you so far, and they have a ceiling. And then once you get to that ceiling, you're going to have to upgrade to a new tool. It's really important when you're making these decisions to be clear on what your growth goals are in terms of data fluency. So we can store data a few different ways. And these are all great ways. None are better than the others. First, we have our CRMs. Most of you are familiar with using CRMs, and they're pretty good for this. We can also use marketing automation platforms. These are software platforms that are built specifically to do lots of different things with your marketing data, basically built to message in an automated way. Some CRMs have marketing automation platforms built in. Some marketing automation platforms have CRMs built in, so it can get a little confusing. Then there's things like customer journey software. These are software a little bit more targeted towards creating the visual view of your customer journey and then doing something with it. And last but not least, custom-built environments. Custom-built environments are important because having done this a lot over the last 6 or 7 years for different size clients, from millions of customers to just a few hundred, I often find that if we're too focused on finding the right platforms to do our data well, we are months away from actual insights. My job is to get insights in the hands of the clients immediately. So oftentimes I'll ask the questions, what do you want to get? Create a custom database solution. We can go into Google Sheets or Excel. We can get MySQL turned on. We can get data visualization. That's a free tool like the Google Data Studio. And all of a sudden we can start getting some insights built, some hypotheses tested, and we haven't actually spent any resources or money. And again, we can scale up through those tools. So talk a bit about owning data, because I get this question a lot. And it's important to understand that if we're going to do marketing either for our own company or for a client or partner, and we're going to store their customer data, we have to be very careful with that data. It's a sensitive subject for customers, for us. And no one wants their data abused. No one wants it hijacked or stolen. So it's really, really important that if you go this direction, I'm going to build something, I'm going to host it on my own servers or on my own computer, work with your IT department, because they're going to be the resource to help you do this right and to make sure you aren't breaking any rules. But I think for most of us, the way we're going to move forward is through some sort of a cloud-based solution. Whether, we're a bigger or small company, there's some advantages to getting this off the shelf. One is you don't need necessarily any IT help or legal help because it's all kind of taken care of. Legally is already written by that third-party software vendor. You get technical support depending on the package you purchased. Scalable pricing models, so you can start off small and then grow, maybe add other clients or websites or businesses into it. And there's lots of automation out of the box. But doesn't more automation and AI-driven stuff mean our marketing starts to feel automated and it feels less human? I'm asking the question. But if you ask the question, I would say only if we're lazy. Let's talk about marketing beyond the channel. Any questions? No? Okay. How's my pace? Is it okay? Good. I'm going to ask some questions that I think we'll all agree on the answers. First question is, what does a customer's place in the funnel tell us? I would answer, first off, to me, it tells me the likelihood that they're going to convert either today or some point in the future. I oftentimes feel like that's the best metric of seeing a customer sitting right in the middle of my sales funnel. There's a certain number of chance that they're actually going to either complete that journey through the funnel or they'll get spit back out. But there's other answers to the question. What about the specific products or offerings that they're interested in? If I'm interested in a very specific product and I'm in the sales funnel as a customer, maybe I'm researching the product. Maybe I'm looking for someone who's selling it for less money. Maybe I'm looking for the right size because they don't have my size in. So I have an intent to purchase, but I'm stuck. And I'm not stuck because of any specific reason that has an issue with my experience. It's just product-based. But what if it is something else? Maybe I know the brand and I've gone to their website, but I don't trust the brand enough to make a purchase. Their e-commerce engine is kind of janky. It seems like it's not working properly, or it has bad reviews. They sell this product on other places like Amazon. So I'm not going down the funnel, not because I don't know the brand well enough, but because I don't trust them. What if I'm stuck? I want to buy something, or I want to convert, but the UX is a mess. It's too confusing or frictional. There's too many steps, and I get stuck. These are all common ways in which someone cannot find their way down through the sales funnel or the conversion funnel, but I don't think generally we have any clue why people are sitting there. And we need to get better at it. So let's ask a different set of questions, channel specific. What are the best channels for conversions? Historically, search, paid search, email, and the website itself are your best drivers of conversions. And that's true in most industries. We can say that with a lot of confidence. What about brand awareness? Well, maybe a little bit more subjective. Now we're talking maybe social media, some PR. What about new customers? I think generally maybe we'd go back to search, we'd go back to PPC. Referral traffic is great for new people. What about return customers? Well, now we turn on email, and social is still important for people who are affiliated with our brand or our company. What's the best channel for return customers who like a specific product? Okay, maybe we need to get some display advertising on, and they just had a baby, and they've just moved from Florida to Seattle. I don't think anybody can answer the question, what's the best marketing channel for this specific person? I don't know the answer. I need to get a little bit more information. I think this gets to the heart of the issue with a lot of our channel-specific marketing efforts. This is true for both agencies. Our own agency is guilty of this, and your marketing teams. That when you budget and you strategize for marketing channels, the insights you're going to pull are about the channels. How well is paid doing? Well, the CPC is looking good. Our impressions are going up, they're going down. That's great. That's a health report for the channel itself, but do we get any better insight into that person who moved from Florida to Seattle? No, we don't know anything else about them. These blanket answers don't fit anymore. This is a really cool visualization that I pulled from a report by this company, Kahuna Marketing. It's called The Marketer's Blueprint to Win in the Age of Personalization. I really like it because it shows on the top row for the who, what, when, where, why conversations about customers, how we currently still do things or used to do things versus really the way our customers and consumers want us to do things. So when it comes to targeting people, we see at the top this idea of creating segments in batches. People who are new to an area, or new users, first-time users, return users, all of those definitions. But what our customers actually want is they want to have behaviorally affiliated and tied targeting. They want it. They want you, if they care about you, to know that they like this brand or they don't like that brand, that they like to be messaged at this time and not that time. And as we go over to the right, I won't go through all these columns, but it's a really interesting dichotomy between what we're doing as marketers, because we're still stuck in those ways, versus the way our customers want us to talk to them. And we're not going to go into this topic in this discussion, but as wary as the general public is of data collection, but what we find over and over again when we test it is when you have your customers' data and you use it in a way that helps them, they're always happy and grateful, always. It's only when it's used poorly or when it's used in a crass way that they get upset, generally. One other visualization from the same report, I love this one too, because it does something I was talking about before, which is taking the listening stage, which is really what we're talking about here, and putting it at the beginning of a campaign. The first thing we want to do is turn on our ears to start collecting the information about the customers. We learn off of it, and then we create actual campaigns off of it and implement and iterate. So by listening to the customer from a cohesive and holistic view, not specific to a channel, now looking at it by the customer's life cycle, we can message them when, where, and how they want. We can create attribution models. We struggle as an industry in telling our clients, and I know marketing teams within in-house marketing teams have this problem too, how much of my paid ad campaigns are actually leading to a conversion? Can you actually tell me that? We can estimate it, but we're not doing a very good job of true attribution. You can't do true attribution unless you have a completely holistic view of a specific customer. If we do this, we can stop wasting budgets on those batch and blast campaigns. We don't have to do a paid campaign that's going to 1 million impressions because we only want those 1,000 people who meet our specific criteria. We can better match marketing efforts to the business goals. We have a lot of channel-specific, marketing goals that are not aligned with the business goals of your internal business needs. We can better understand the customer value. We can create robust customer journeys, which we're going to get into in the next section, and we can get to true ROI. Again, from a data analyst perspective, we want to help the companies understand the ROI value in the marketing channels. We need to put all the channels together to be able to do that well. So I thought it would be cool to take a view through an example of a customer journey. And what I think is a little bit different about this is It's a customer journey based on some behaviors and touch points and messages that the customer is driving, as opposed to we've built it. Let's allow a customer to write their own journey for us. So this is an online shopper. She's a young mother, and she's a Amazon Prime shopper. I guess everybody is these days. She likes to comparison shop. She buys for herself. She buys for her family. And she's doing a search right now for lifestyle shoes for women. And doing this search, she's coming up on a website. For this purpose of this demonstration, I'm using Nike because they're the #1 ranked organic result. But you can substitute this with any kind of a industry or any kind of a brand. She goes to the website and views some products, specifically a product category, lifestyle shoes for women, because Nike did a really good job of creating a category called lifestyle shoes. And she looks at a couple of them. We have a CTA on this. It's an email sign up. Please sign up to get our email if this is the standard play, right? Well, she doesn't go for it, and we lose her. Things get worse because now she's going to Amazon to do her product search. We know from millennial shoppers, this is a typical way of doing things. They go to the manufacturer's website or the brand website, get the information. Now, how cheaply can I get it? Because I can get it as quickly as possible if I go directly to something like Amazon or Wayfair. But most people don't buy this thing right away. They put it in their cart. We use our Amazon carts as like shopping lists these days. So she put a shoe in there, but she didn't buy anything. So we still have an opportunity. Now we have a PPC ad campaign. And it's an ad campaign specific to a product, the Air Force Max 1, which is one of the lifestyle shoes that Nike sells. So it's a very specific ad. And she catches it, and she clicks through. And this time, the email sign-up CTA works. Of note, the data collected before this point generally is dark data. We had an unregistered guest user come to our website. They viewed something, and they left. You would think that that data is gone forever. But if we're smart about it, we can hold that data in a place in our master database with some tagging information. And then now that this person has signed up, we can recall that data, recall the actual visits she made to the website, and now bring all that information to us when we hit her with her welcome message. So instead of getting a generic welcome series, she's getting a welcome message with the Air Force One product in it. And she clicks through, but she doesn't buy anything. But now we know we've got her on the hook. She's really low down the funnel. Time to close the deal. And we send an email product offer for the Nike Air Force One with some sort of a discount maybe. She goes to view it, and she goes ahead and makes that purchase. So success. And the journey doesn't end, because now that we've got her in the system, we can sell her some accessories. Let's do a refer a friend campaign. Awesome. She loves it. She refers a friend. We hit her with some re-engagement. Maybe you want to do a gift club. I mean, we can go on and on and on. I mean, you can use your imagination. But the nice thing about this journey is we let the customer create it for themselves. If enough customers do this journey, the same journey, we can now start to create these templates and journeys that we want to put customers into. You know, maybe the PPC ad for accessories doesn't work over and over again. Well, let's switch it out with something else. Maybe PPC is not the next best way to hit that person. So we have these audience segments, and there's many types, but I'm pulling ones out that we often see. New customers, gift givers, brand ambassadors, whatever you want to call them. And this is the old-fashioned way of creating segments. We just say, this is a segment. But now, with this new way of creating customer journeys off of data, the segments are actually tied to things like channel, device, timing, and the message. We're no longer just saying this is a group of brand ambassadors. We're saying here are the brand ambassadors, here are the channels they respond to, here's when they want to be messaged, here's what we need to say to them. True segments from real data equals immediate conversion rate lift. It's provable, it's measurable. The ability to launch our A/B testing quicker and get results more quickly, and better ROI. These are all measurable things. So you can go to any CFO, anyone running the budgets for any marketing campaign and say, these things will happen if we create true segments from actual data. Moving into tactics. I'm going to touch on a few different things here. I'm going to skip something. Again, if you have a question, something you want to know about, put a question in the comment box or raise your hand if you're here in the room. So if I were you and you were looking to do this for the first time, I'd print this out because this is what I use. It's my customer insights workflow. First thing I want to do is create some sort of a strategy and mapping document for how I want to actually go about capturing insight for this customer, for this set of customers. So create the strategy first. And what does the data mapping look like? Where is it going to come from? Where is it going to go? Then my data collection stage, I'm going to actually be actively listening and collecting information. Now I've got to merge and clean up that data. Once it's cleaned up, I can start to do my analysis. Then I create my reports. And I finally optimize, I test, and I iterate. And that's the cycle of it. On the right are the related tools that I would use to do these things. So for data mapping and strategy, just draw it. You can do it by hand. You can do a whiteboard. You can find online tools for doing data mapping. Again, with many of these solutions, it can be as simple or as complex, as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. But the output is really about the work you put into it. Next, my data collection stage, I need a tagging environment. I'm going to talk about tags in just a moment. For step number 3, I need my database. Maybe it's, again, something I've purchased, or maybe it's one of my own databases. For the analysis stage, I need an analytics platform, Google Analytics or something like that. For my reporting stage, I want a data viz tool. I'm going to show you some examples of those. And for the final stage, I probably want a marketing automation environment, because it's really hard to optimize, test, and iterate at scale manually. Let's talk about tags. Tagging is a complex subject, but it can be started very, very easily and simply. Most of you know and have heard of Google Tag Manager. That's a solution we often use as an agency to get a brand or a website or a company's tags working properly. The nice thing about it is we do that simple single code implementation. I'm a little bit oversimplifying it, but it's more or less a single code implementation on the website. We tie that to our analytics. Now we have our customer database pulling in all sorts of interesting behavioral tags. And a tag can be anything we want it to be. If a user clicks or stays on a piece of content for a specific amount of time, or if they leave a certain area of our site, we can check on all of those things. And on the other end, once we have that information in the database, we can start going into the dynamic messaging. I'll give a couple of examples of that, workable examples. Let's say we want to use a marketing automation layer to actually create different experiences of the website depending on the customer. So customer A gets a specific piece of content when they visit our homepage, or when they visit a specific landing page. It's a different message than what customer B gets. And maybe we have a fallback experience, but if we know something about you because you're in our database, we're going to spit out some new content for you. Marketing automation tools can do this today. Most of them can do it out of the box. It's not easy to set up, but when it's done well, it can be very, very powerful. Another example of using the marketing automation to create different experiences is to go channel specific. This time, customers A, B, and C are being messaged through different channels. One prefers email. One, we have an app user. We hit them with a push notification there. And then finally, someone who signs up to get SMS text messaging. And again, these marketing automation layers, some of them can do this out of the box. You can assign someone to get a message via one or multiples of these types of messaging channels. Visualization. This is an interesting topic because we all need ways to put the data into some final visual form that is essentially the communication of the insights. And we are often as data analysts going through different options and different ideas. But I think choosing the right environment is incredibly important and overlooked. A lot of times, companies or agencies will stay in a data visualization environment that doesn't work for the type of storytelling that they're being asked to do. So before we pick something, we need to ask ourselves what we want that tool to do. But there are tools out there that are pretty robust. This is a Tableau example. Tableau is the industry leader in this. You've no doubt used them or heard of them. They're a little expensive, and there's a learning curve, but there are other tools out there that can do this for a little bit cheaper to get yourself out the door. The same logic, I think, for choosing a platform can apply to customer journey visualizations. This is a tool from IBM called the Customer Journey Designer, I think. It's one of my favorites because I am a data guy, and I like that I can drag and drop these elements and have it directly turn into a messaging campaign. Someone else may need or benefit from a more visual one, like a static customer journey with different types of data, different types of potential lift from outreach. And then we can get into very, very complex visualizations. I like data, but this to me is too complex, and I wouldn't know what to do with it. All right, so we're reaching the end, and I want to talk about some takeaways. The cat is still with us. I was debating back and forth between using either data gifts from Star Trek or cat gifts, and then I remembered he has a cat, and I was like, all right, my theme is locked in. More than ever, the customers want us to talk, and this is a good place to interrupt me, by the way. More than ever, the customers want to talk to us as individuals with the right message sent to the right place at the right time. Any messaging you're doing, you should ask yourself, am I sending it to the right place at the right time? Do they want it on their mobile versus do they want it at work on their desktop? Do they want it during the day or do they want it at night? There's email messaging platforms out there that can automatically send emails when the system believes the user is most likely to open that email, just by looking at past behavioral data of opening your emails. So things like that can be very, very powerful. More personalized messaging requires more data, especially the behavioral data. That data is not easy to get until we set up the environments correctly. And even then, it's still hard to get. Setting up your data environments using strategy and then deciding if they should be custom built or purchased off the shelf is crucial. Don't skip the strategy. Automation is easier than ever. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you're probably talking to vendors all the time that want to sell you the miracles of automation. But the customers can tell when automation is not done well. You can tell. We've all gotten, like, I'm sure, remarketing ads of some product that we bought 6 months ago and it followed you around like the plague. That's bad automation. Only when we market beyond any one channel can we take full advantage of the channel. And then we get a full view of the customer so that we can get there. And last takeaway for discussion is building, testing, and adapting customer journeys based on real data from the customers. So if you have personas, if you have target customers, if you have target segments, those are all great fodder and great places to start to actually build out some real, actual database-built customer journeys. And I think that's all I have. So I'm going to stop and open it up for discussion. And we'll ask, again, the internet, if you're still on the stream, if you have any comments or questions, put it for everybody, right? Mark it for everybody.
And I've got a couple, so who are the best people to build out the plan? Is it an analyst or the marketing?
I should repeat that question, right, so they can hear me. Who are the best people to build out a plan? Is it an analyst or a marketing team leader? So who are the best people to do this? Everybody is the best people to do this. So if you have someone in your organization who is data fluent and can sort of run these types of projects, you start there. But it really works best when it's more of an organizational thing, because I've worked with lots of large marketing teams at large companies, and they can't go out and hire 5 more people to do this work. You know, it's really about adapting to this type of work. And the nice thing about these types of solutions is once you get into it and you know how to make it work, it's really not that difficult to iterate off of it. So my answer would be, I guess, a little bit of everybody.
Another one is Derek wants to know if you can go back and show the tools that you're recommending for like automation tools.
Yes. Going behind the curtain here. Well, I don't know if Derek is referring to which of the slides, because I have the slide with the different data collection. I'm going to assume that's what he's talking about. So let's go back there first. Right here, this one. I did pick these because I have affection for all of them. For CRMs, Sugar CRM is a really powerful one. What I love about it is it has a lot of connectivity to other systems that works really well. Salesforce Marketing Cloud is the one we all know, and it's what many of our systems are either in, and oftentimes in the old version of Salesforce moving over to the Marketing Cloud. That's more and more common. Autopilot's a really good CRM too. But for the marketing automation platforms, SharpSpring is a great option if you're looking for something really cheap, because it's basically a full-service automation platform that's like, less than $1,000 a month to do a lot of automation. It also even has a CRM. Marketo is always really well reviewed. It's an older system, but it's very powerful. IBM Watson is great for email specific and email specific messaging automation. That's another thing to ask yourself is like, well, what kind of campaigns do I do? Am I trying to hit people via email campaigns? Am I trying to talk to them via my website? Am I trying to get them to interact with me on social? Because when you answer those questions, you might choose something different. The only thing else I'll call out here is on the customer journey software. All of the ones I put here are connectable via API connections to all the big CRMs. So if you want to create your journey in the journey software and have all that cool drag and drop functionality because you like the way it looks, you like the way it outputs, you can then pull that data into it from either of the two rows above. I hope that answered the question.
He also has a question, what are your thoughts on Bronto versus or Acton for marketing automation?
Yeah, Acton is a pretty powerful platform. We actually use it here at Anvil for our internal marketing, and I like that I like the integrated way the data works. I, however, hate the UX, and Paris is not in here. Paris does our actual management of our Acton campaign, and we're actually looking at something else. And Bronto is one of the things we're looking at. I love Bronto because I love how snappy it is. I don't love the pricing structure. That's another thing. As an agency, we're often having different conversations with these vendors than you might as a in-house marketing team, because we're trying to get agency pricing. And sometimes the vendors are not as friendly to agencies as other ones are. And I only put ones up here that do work in some way with us as an agency.
Are there any free tools that you'd recommend for a marketing team working on a tight budget?
Yeah, basically the bottom row, which is all free. I mean, the thing about Google is everything, most all of their analytical tools are free up to a certain amount of usage. So if your databases are small enough, I would absolutely recommend taking a look at that. And then, using MySQL is great too, because it can be very powerful for local storage. Again, you're not having to spend any kind of fees. This is basically all open source. Google Data Studio is, I think, less used in the business than it really should be. It's a relatively new venture for Google, but what's so cool about it is, again, it's free, but also you can create visualizations in it very quickly. You can connect it to Google Sheets with a press of a button. So if you've got a lot of data sitting in Google Sheets, you can create really good visualizations and reports quickly in Data Studio, and you're not spending any software fees. And again, that could get you up to a certain number of records before you make a decision to purchase something. The one thing those free tools don't do is marketing automation. I don't know of a free marketing automation platform. That's probably never going to exist. If you want to actually have automated messaging sending out from your customer data, you're going to need to spend some money. Go ahead, Derek.
What are your thoughts on HubSpot?
Yeah, HubSpot is great. I think it's great as an intermediate option. Like it could be you could replace SharpSpring with HubSpot in this visual. It's a little bit more money, and I think it's a great tool.
Okay. I was just going to say, I noticed that MailChimp is kind of going up scale and adding features with automation, but it's still fairly inexpensive.
Yeah, okay, so you were talking about MailChimp for the people online and how MailChimp is graduating up to more sophisticated automation capabilities. That's the play for those ESPs, specifically MailChimp and Constant Contact. They obviously want to not lose their customers to the exact targets or silver pops. And I've helped migrate a lot of clients' email out of MailChimp. But MailChimp is trying. They're just not there yet.
They were asking about low cost.
For a low-cost option, email in general, I think it's a great, because everyone I've ever talked to uses MailChimp from a usage standpoint, they love it. Nobody ever complains about it from a usage standpoint. It's just, again, if your size of your database gets too high, they just don't have solutions that work, in my opinion, for enterprise. But for small, medium business, it's getting better every day, for sure.
Another one. Customers and potential clients know that they need better data analysis, etc., but don't necessarily know where to start. How do you clearly articulate or educate them on the importance of proper data
slides, going back to this slide, I think it's about refining the criteria. So the numbers and the metrics were showing up above. I put those metrics in this presentation so that everyone can virtually nod their head and say, we all agree that this is important. Now, if you're in a conversation with a stakeholder that has not yet bought into that argument, you need a different set of things to convince them. And that could be a presentation itself, right? Like how to get the person who has the purse strings or who is a stakeholder to actually understand the importance of this. But I really feel like with where we're at today in 2018, like I don't run into clients anymore that don't know it's important. And so now we're on the stage of like you said, Javi, in the question, well, how do we prioritize? And I think this list that we're showing is a good way to do it for me and for my teams, which is understanding we want to collect the data from the specific channels that matter to us. Channels don't matter to us, we don't care about it. Get that written down on a piece of paper somewhere, and then we know we need some solutions that are going to connect to those channels that are going to be able to pull some actual engagement data and conversion data, and obviously connecting to our website. I'll also answer part two. It always starts with the website for me. Like whatever you're doing, you probably have a site. It's probably the hub of your communications. I mean, there are some clients out there that are doing it differently. But if you're someone that has a singular location or two locations online where most of the information is going to be shared, most of the sales are going to happen and the conversions, start there. Make sure your analytics is right there. Make sure the tagging is done right there. Every large company I've worked with that we want to install this kind of a plan, we have to go to their site first and make sure that we're tracking the necessary behaviors. And that's almost step one before we worry about who that person is. The thing about Google tracking is Google doesn't want to tell us as marketers who people are doing the things that they're doing. They just don't give us that information. And besides black hat ways to get that, there are white hat ways to connect those data pieces once you get your CRM connected. And again, get some sort of customer ID built to that user. And last thing I'll say to this, to answer the question, going back to the idea of, I showed you that journey where we had someone doing things on our site that we collected, but we didn't have it attached to that user. If we can do that and capture those tags right, and then again, connect it back to the user, the nice thing about that is we're now listening and tagging on our website on day one. We might be 6 months or a year away from having some really fancy marketing automation that can actually do the messaging. Doesn't matter. We're still collecting all that data. So the day we turn the switch on that, a specific user, we can see 6 months of their data if we set it up right.
I think one last question here was, what's the best way for a team or individual? What's the best way to get a team or individual trained in customer data collection and analysis?
So there are a lot of great resources out there to get trained up on how to do this, and I think that the Google pathway of analytics courses was how I got my start, and I know a lot of the people I've worked with got their start. If you are a marketer, a strategic marketer, starting there, getting your certifications, and then the platforms themselves, many sell or offer certifications within those platforms. So if there's like a bronze toe that you really want to kick the tires on, call up that rep and say, I want a demo, and also like what resources and white papers and videos can you share? And the dirty answer for me is YouTube. Whenever there's something I don't know how to do, I just YouTube it. There's someone out there usually doing it, and I kind of build my knowledge base from that. But hopefully your company has a resource, someone who does own this, and they're the ones who are going to tell you where to go. Because ideally you've got somebody who's blazed the path in front of you. Cool. Well, we're up against the hour, so I want to thank everybody. This has been really great. If those of you who are here want to keep talking, we can certainly do that. For everybody online, thanks so much for joining us. And just let you know, we are recording this. We will post the recording of it if you want to go back and watch the webinar. I don't think we're posting the deck anywhere, are we? We'll send out slides to people who attended as well. So again, thank you. If you have any questions, my email is all the way at the bottom of this presentation, but it's just steven@anvilmedia.com with a PH. Oh. All right, just us, guys. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for coming, really.